Which one is it? It's good times.
Good evening, good folks, and welcome to the City of Muskegon City Commission General Session this Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. If you'd like to address the City Commission during a public comment period, you may complete the comment form at the back of the room and submit it to our City Clerk, Ann Mish. On the form, please provide your name, home address, and the topic in which you'll be speaking. When it's your time to speak, I'll acknowledge you, and you'll come to the podium, provide your name, and give your remarks, up to 3 minutes for an individual. Note, I will not share your address publicly, nor will I ask you to announce your address before public comment. Throughout our commission meeting, let's maintain decorum and remain respectful of one another. Visitors to our meeting should refrain from making remarks in the audience and instead are welcome to sign up to give public comment at the podium when called upon. We will have two public comment periods, one towards the beginning, before we get into our consent agenda and the other matters of business, and then we'll have another public comment period at the end of the meeting in which you can speak on any item that you so desire. Before we get into the meat of our agenda tonight, we're going to have prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you wish to join us, please stand if you're so able. And we're going to be led in prayer by Reverend Diane Stark of Unity Church of Muskegon.
Oh, thank you. So let's close our eyes for a moment and draw our energies into this present moment. There seems to be a new worldview catching on. The mayor saying, put the mentally ill off the street so the police can do their job. Politicians saying, zero tolerance for rainforest destruction. So we are moving into a new future, hand in hand, through the power of God. And so it is. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend Stark. All right, may we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Gorman,
I'm here.
Commissioner Emery,
Here.
Commissioner St. Clair, absent. Mayor Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Hood,
Here.
Commissioner Ramsey, absent. Vice Mayor German.
Here.
Thank you. Before we get on with our public comment and consent agenda, we do have a few items for honors, awards, and presentations. First up, we have recognition of the 9/11 event participants by the Boy Scouts of America Troop 1053. I believe Dave Paulson and Parker. Welcome.
Thank you and good evening. My name is David Paulson. I live in Ward 4, represented by Commissioner Emery. I'm the Scoutmaster of Troop 1053G, our Scouts BSA troop for girls, founded in 2019, as well as Assistant Scoutmaster for our partner troop, Scouts BSA Troop 1053B, our troop for boys, founded in 1951. As they learn new skills, have fun, and gain leadership experience, our Scouts serve the greater Muskegon community with, among other things, monthly food trucks, conservation projects, the Iris Fest dance floor, singing Christmas tree theater setup, and parties in the park cleanup, and the fence setup and tear down. Tonight, we're here to thank some of those who helped with two 9/11 Community Day of Remembrance ceremonies held in Muskegon. One at the USS LST 393 Veterans Museum, the other at the USS Silverside's Submarine Museum. Beginning on September 11th, 2002, 1 year after the terrorist hijackings of 4 airliners that crashed into New York City's Twin Towers, the Pentagon, and a field outside Shanksville, Pennsylvania, the anniversary of that horrific event, that horrific day, has been solemnly remembered each year at the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Museum in Grand Rapids. Sponsored by a growing coalition, museums, foundations, educational institutions, small businesses, major corporations, first responders, and the Michigan Crossroads Council of Boy Scouts of America, this has been a true community partnership. Young and old, civilians and those serving uniform, scouts and other young people, all come together to salute the American flag and pay quiet tribute to those who lost their lives that day, and while defending our nation in its aftermath. To my knowledge, the Michigan Crossroads Council is the only council in Boy Scouts of America that has continuously carried on that tradition of remembrance annually. In recent years, additional sites in Lower Michigan have held similar 9/11 events, to include here in Muskegon, at the LST 393, which began in 2020, and at the Silversides, which began this year. I'd like to invite Mayor Johnson and others involved at the LST 393 event to step forward so that we may recognize them with a certificate of appreciation for their time and efforts. And then those who worked on the Silversides event, if you could please line up behind them. While they're making their way forward, I'd like to introduce the scout from Troop 1053B, who is here to present the certificates, Parker Majeski. Parker recently earned the highest rank in Scouts BSA, Eagle Scout. He's the son of Tori Lynn Majeski and Andy and Jill Majeski. And Tori's here tonight. Parker's a senior at North Muskegon High School and resides in the Terrace Point neighborhood on Muskegon Lake, making him one of your constituents. And I believe it would be Precinct 7 and represented by the Ward 2 Commissioner, Willie German, and at-large Commissioners Gorman and St. Clair, and of course Mayor Johnson. The Eagle Scout Service Project that Parker led benefited LST 393 right here in downtown, and involved replacing 40 flags and flagpoles, as well as cutting and painting small pipe holders to be welded onto the deck railing. So when you see those flags flying along the ship's railing next summer, think about Parker's leadership. The frame certificate, Parker, you want to hold one up? That Parker's holding includes at the top a printed image of the event patch, and the certificate reads as follows: in appreciation and support of the Community Day of Remembrance and Scout Salute, presented to, and the first one at least, Mayor Kenneth Johnson, September 11th, 2022, signed Donald D. Shepard Jr., Scout Executive and CEO, Lori Champion, Council President, and Timothy Ecola, Council Commissioner. In addition to the frame certificate, each person will receive the embroidered Michigan Crossroads Council shoulder patch commemorating this year's event. And a note about the patch design, because you may not recognize it on first look. In addition to the council name, it includes the Boy Scouts of America version of the fleur-de-lis, which is the universal symbol of the World Scouting Movement. And the image on there depicts a U.S. service member seated on one of the 184 benches of the National 9/11 Pentagon Memorial, and includes the inscription 9/11/2002, never forget. I would ask that you assembled here, please hold your applause until we're able to present certificates to all of today's recipients. Okay, first the LST event. As I read your name, please step forward to Parker. Shake with your right hand. He'll hand you the certificate to your left hand. Pause a moment in case somebody's taking a photo here. First, the speakers. Mayor Kenneth Johnson. Next, 92nd District State Representative Terry Sabo. '34th District State Senator John Bumstead. The Master of Ceremonies, LST Museum Manager Captain James Flood, U.S. Navy, retired. Currently out of town on business, but would receive one, the LST 393 Association President, Scott Grant. And now those who made possible the event at the Silversides Museum. Representative Terry Sabo also spoke at that event. We thank you for doing double duty that day. And since he's a former firefighter, his words were very important on that day. Master of Ceremonies, let's see, is Rick Chapla here? No, okay, gotcha. Okay. And also from the Silversides, Petty Officer First Class, Jack Fisher, U.S. Navy, retired. Okay. There were others who were recognized separately, or will be, including later this evening. For all of their efforts, please join me in thanking these generous people. To wrap this up, I'd like to invite you all to participate in the Community Day of Remembrance events in 2023, hosted by both of these organizations. Save the date, you know when that is. Come out and salute the flag with us. That's everybody, literally. Since it'll be a Monday next year, the time frame will be in the evening. Probably at the Silver Sites first and then at the LST. And in case of inclement weather, like we had this year, if you remember, it was raining cats and dogs on 9/11, we will carry on indoors like we did this year. And on behalf of our community coalition, for the commission, I'd like to say we appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you to BSA Troop 1053 for helping us to remember the events that happened on 9/11 and honor our first responders and all who lost their lives on that day, and helping to educate the younger generations about what happened. So thank you. Next up, we have recognition of our Muskegon police officers, and I believe that's Chief Kozel.
Good evening. Appreciate being afforded the time just to be able to recognize a handful of our police officers. I think everybody got in their hand-down packet from the city manager last Friday. We had an awards recognition banquet for both our police and fire last week, and there was a litany of firefighters and police officers that were recognized during that ceremony. I would, however, today like to recognize three of our officers. Number one would be Sergeant Mike Lansma. Sergeant Mike Lansma was hired in June of 2000, promoted to sergeant in May of 2018, and he just recently retired after a great career here on the Muskegon Police Department here. He just retired back on the 30th of November, so I'd like to recognize him. Also like to recognize now Sergeant John Burns. He's been here since July of 2005, promoted to sergeant this 1st of December. So he's just one of our new sergeants. So we look forward to working with him. I also want to recognize Officer Al Hairston. He's been with us since August of 2017. Back in November, on November 28th, he was recognized by the Muskegon Young Black Professionals with the Black Magic Award. And I'd like just to read what that award entailed. It's for excelling in their profession and community while also building relationships and partnerships in the community and serving as a positive role model for others. Congratulations to him for receiving that award and representing the Muskegon Police Department. I'm proud to be able to work with all three of these individuals. So just wanted to take a moment and recognize them. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief. And thank you to our officers for their exemplary service to our community. We have new staff introductions. It's our Development Services Director, Jake Ekholm, presenting.
Good evening. Happy to take this opportunity to introduce a new member of our team in Development Services. We'll also be coming back in January to introduce another one. So we're growing and excited by that. So tonight I'd like to introduce Contessa Hood. She's our new Development Analyst, which is a newly created position, returning a lot of our sort of more formal economic development functions to a single staff person. Over the course of time, they kind of got spread out throughout, the recession years, just due to attrition and reduction in staffing. So we're very excited to have Contessa here with her expertise. She comes to us by way of GMED, Greater Muskegon Economic Development, our countywide EDO. So already very experienced and knowledgeable, and has a relationship with many of our existing businesses. So with that, I'll let her say a little bit about herself.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm born and raised in Muskegon, Michigan. I went to Reese Pfeffer High School. I'm a Central Michigan University graduate, and I studied community development. I've been away from Muskegon for 10 plus years, so I'm super excited to come back and work in my hometown, especially working in the city of Muskegon. So I look forward to meeting all of you and having deeper conversations. Thank you.
Excellent. Welcome back to Muskegon and welcome to the city of Muskegon. Looking forward to serving alongside you for the betterment of our community. Thank you. We have one more presentation, recognition. It's not on the agenda, but as we are celebrating a new addition to our team, we also regrettably are going to celebrate and recognize a departing member of our team, a very valuable member of our team. And that is our DPW Director, Leo Evans. As some of you know, he is moving far to Colorado. We are so incredibly grateful for the service you provided our community, and I don't want to lose you. But new adventures await you and your family. And so, whereas Leo Evans was hired as the city engineer on May 21st, 2018, promoted to Public Works Director on January 27th, 2019, and continues to work in this position until January 5th, 2023, so we still got him for a few more weeks. And whereas Leo was instrumental in obtaining over $8 million in state funding for lead service line verification and replacements, and has also led the effort to apply for state funding for water and sewer infrastructure replacements, and whereas Leo was essential in obtaining an economic development grant from the Michigan Department of Transportation for expansion of the road system in the Port City Industrial Park to make way for major business attraction projects, and whereas Leo created an asset management plan for roads and utilities, which will be the basis for capital project planning into the future, and whereas Leo has been committed to partnerships, teamwork, and collaboration, and his calm demeanor and approach to solving problems has been key to the city's success. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Kenneth D. Johnson, Mayor of the City of Muskegon, and speaking on behalf of our City Commission and the citizens of our great Muskegon, thank Leo Evans for the excellent job he has done working for the City of Muskegon and wish him the very best in the future.
Well, since I wasn't on the agenda, I don't have anything prepared to say, but I'm very appreciative of you all, everyone, the public, the commission, all the staff that I've had the pleasure of working with these 5 years. It's been a great experience. I love Muskegon. I will always love Muskegon. I had an opportunity come to me that I couldn't say no to, and you know, I'd probably be lying if I say I won't be back in Muskegon at some point in my life, but for the next little piece of it, we'll enjoy some mountains in Colorado. And I thank you all again for everything, and wish you the best going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Evans.
Thank you, Mayor.
We always welcome you back home, Director Evans. All right, public comment on agenda items. We got one for general comment at the end of the meeting, one that's going to be on a public hearing, so that's not right this moment. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on an agenda item? All right, seeing none. Commissioners, you've had an opportunity to review the consent agenda. Are there any items that you wish to have removed for separate consideration, deliberation, and vote? Commissioner Emery.
Item G.
What's that? G? G. Any other items, commissioners? All right, we do have a few from staff that have requested us to get pulled. One of which is item C, So make note of that, whomever's going to make the motion. Item C, and we already had a commissioner say item G. I would ask for item H, and then we also have a request for item N. So C, G, H, and N.
All right, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented, minus items C, G, H, and N.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Gorman, supported by Commissioner Emery, to approve the consent agenda as presented, minus items C, G, H, and N. Roll call, please.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Vice Mayor German.
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Commissioners, may I have a motion on item C, the Good Temp Staffing Services extension?
Sure. I move to approve the 1-year extension of the Good Temp Staffing Service Agreement for 2023.
Support.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gorman, supported by Commissioner Emery, to approve the 1-year extension of the Good Temp Staffing Service Agreement for 2023. Thank you. All right, welcome.
Tawana Thompson, EEO and Employee Relations Director for the City of Muskegon. I have Jeanette Hoyer, who is the CEO of Goodwill Industries.
Hi. We are very pleased. I'm the president and CEO of both Goodwill Industries of West Michigan and Good Temp Staffing. We're very pleased for an opportunity to continue our partnership with the City of Muskegon through providing service and meeting your temporary staffing needs. Our work is to remove barriers to employment, and our mission is to change lives through the power of work, and we're grateful to have another opportunity to continue that with you at the City of Muskegon. Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight. Commissioners, do you have any, before you go, maybe commissioners have questions. Commissioners, do you happen to have any questions or comments on this item before we vote? No? All right. Thanks so much for being here with us tonight. All right. Any discussion? Nope. All right. Roll call, please.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Vice Mayor German.
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman.
Yes.
Commissioner Emery.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And item G, Hartshorn Marina 2023 rates. That is Commissioner Emery.
Yes. I move to approve the 2023 user rate fee rates as proposed for Hartshorn Marina, provided the proposed rates are also approved by the Michigan Department of Natural Resources.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Emery, supported by Vice Mayor German, to approve the 2023 user fee rates as proposed for Hartshorn Marina, provided the proposed rates are also approved by the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. Director Evans.
Oh, good evening.
Commissioner Emery.
I read through all of the increases. I just am questioning how they compare to other marinas on our lake.
We try to benchmark to other marinas and stay a little bit in the range, but on the lower end of the range of other marinas on the lake. They don't all publish their rates publicly, so it's not always an easy thing to do. The last time we updated our rates, I believe, was 2020, and we never were able to even open that season. So we've been pretty flat for the last couple years in these. But yes, they did the Harbor Master, who Kaylee Stressman, who worked for F3 and now works for Adelaide Point. She did some research of the other available marinas on the lake to try to benchmark us with those.
Okay, because to me it seemed like quite a hefty increase, a couple $100.
Yeah, I think they were maybe like 10 to 12% kind of range. We didn't think that was terrible, given that it hadn't been adjusted since 2020. And just the inflationary CPI numbers are 8% this year, so we felt it was pretty steady, holding the course for what we had set in 2020 in a lot of ways.
Okay, good. Thank you, Kaylee, for doing the research for us.
I will.
Commissioners, any other questions for Director Evans at this time? All right. Thank you, Director Evans.
Welcome.
Commissioners, any comments on this item before we vote? No? All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Hood,
Yes.
Vice Mayor German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. May I have a commissioner make a motion on the sanitation contract extension?
I move to approve the 5.5-year contract extension for sanitation with Republic Services.
Support. All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Gorman, supported by Commissioner Hood, to approve the 5.5-year contract extension for sanitation services with Republic Services Incorporated. Thank you, Commissioners. Director Evans, could you report out on this contract extension and the process that we pursued in arriving here?
Yeah, absolutely. So our contract with Republic was last extended 10 years ago. That expires at the end of this calendar year. We started working with Republic roughly 6 months ago to gauge their interest in an extension. We went through a number of iterations. This was one of two options they presented us, a 5 and a 10-year extension window. This particular extension, actually, they presented a 5 and we asked for a 5.5 year to get it to align better with our fiscal year cycle rather than going on a calendar year basis. This particular extension includes a new rate starting on 2023, January 1, which is, I gotta find my number, $12.26 per unit. So a unit is like a per residential unit, $12.26 per month for service. The previous rate was $11.62, so that's around a 10% increase 1 year over, 9% maybe. I have to do that math again. Recycling cost per unit was $4.78 per unit. Previously, that was $4.50 per unit. We currently have somewhere in the range of 3,000 residential recycling customers in the city, which represents about 25% of our total number of residential services that are served. Yard waste cost is $100 a load, so that's $100 for every truck that's picked up. Previously, we were charged $10.50 per ton, which equates to $125 a load, so that cost actually has gone down slightly since the last contract. The contract includes a 4% annual increase per year for each of the 5 years after, starting on January 1, 2024. Trying to think what else we had. We included several city-owned dumpsters that are located in parks and DPW. Those are included in the contract to be serviced at no cost at whatever frequency is needed. There's a list in there. I could go through them, but it's the dumpsters you see around the parks that are generally used for maintaining those, as well as some of the ones at DPW and a few other locations. I'm trying to think what else here. We included some provisions that by 2027 in the contract, we need to receive an electronic report from Republic indicating all the houses that are picked up and are not picked up on each day. Currently, the contract includes language that we get a written report daily of addresses that did not have their can out. So what we want to get to is an electronic tracking system, GPS based, whatever that is, that we can go through and do an accurate count of who has their trash out every day, so we know how many cans got picked up, so that the next time we come for an extension, if there's a desire to change models to maybe a cost per tipping fee, like every time your trash gets emptied, you get charged a certain amount rather than a flat rate. We have the data to do that. Right now, we don't have the data to even really project out what that would cost. Some other municipalities do things that way. Some people may be familiar with Grand Rapids model. They charge a cost for each time your trash is emptied, and recycling is emptied free. So it would allow us to maybe look at that model a little closer in the future. No changes to the bulk item, the what commonly known as like the pink sticker program. No changes to the neighborhood dumpster days, which are offered to each of the 15 neighborhoods twice a year. And that is the highlights of it. Like I said, staff is very satisfied with the service. There's like I said, there's roughly 12,000 people, residences every week that get picked up in the city. And I always tell everybody, even if they do their job 99% good, there's going to be 120 people whose trash gets missed. And Republic is always very good about going back and getting those. They've always been very responsive about making sure those get taken care of and that those complaints get addressed. And that's been important to us because it does happen. So that's the highlights.
Thank you, Director Evans, for that report out, and moreover, thank you for your efforts in negotiating that contract. And I really appreciate that addition of requiring them to get that additional capability to track on a per unit basis, so that we could have that opportunity in the future to explore a model perhaps similar to or akin to Grand Rapids, with that unlimited free recycling and then charging on a per pickup for refuse. And potentially even for us to incent recycling further. But Commissioner Hood, I see you have a question or
Just got
comment?
a quick question. I get this question a lot, and so this is an opportunity to ask. Say you missed you didn't get out that morning to get your garbage out in time. Truck comes by, usually, I know around our neighborhood, it comes by about the same time on Friday. So you missed that, and you put it out, but the truck is already gone. Are you just out of luck, pull it back in, set it till next week, or what can be done?
You know, you have a couple options. You can call us. A lot of times, if the truck's still in town, they can make a route back around. My neighborhood, you know, one thing I've done is they come down my side of the street first thing in the morning, and they come down the opposite side of the street about 3 hours later. So I've missed it and put my trash can on the other side of the street and had it picked up. Not that, you know, maybe I shouldn't advocate that publicly, but that's one thing you can do. Otherwise, you can call in. Like I said, they'll get you on a missed call pickup list. We try not to make people wait a whole week until the next time. That does occasionally happen. That's the only way it can work out. But they're in town 5 days a week picking up trash, so it's usually not too much to ask to go grab one or two that get missed. And like I said, it's a lot of times there'll be, you know, cars parked in the street that a truck just can't get to your can, even though it was out to the street. You know, we get that a lot of times too. That, you know, just vehicles block the access of it. So they're very understanding. They work with us very well on, you know, resolving those complaints and trying to keep people as happy as we can.
Okay, and I'd just like to thank you for your service also, because you have been very, very easy to work with. And any complaints that have came by and I ran by you, you have always been more than willing to look into it. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hood. Commissioners, any other questions or comments? Commissioner Emery.
I do. With this new contract, are we going to get another recycling day pickup?
It's not currently included in there. You know, it's certainly something that could be negotiated via an amendment. What it would come down to is Republic would have to look at that price per unit for recycling and figure out what it would cost them to do that twice a month. You know, they'll tell you their opinion is that most of the customers are very well served with one pickup every 4 weeks. There are certainly people that are very enthusiastic recyclers that does not meet their needs as well. It's less of, you know, the fewer times they have to drive that big truck around to collect recycling, the more environmentally friendly, you know, or unfriendly that can be too, right? You know, if you're driving a truck around twice as often and it's only half as full, that's, you know, kind of somewhat defeating the purpose of recycling a little bit. But it's hard to blend the perfect answer for everybody.
Yeah, do you know if you can get 2 recycling bins?
You can order a second recycling bin. There is a charge that I think gets added to your water bill, and I don't recall what that is off the top of my head, but you can have a second bin as well, just like you can have a second trash bin if, you know, if need be for your residents.
Because that would answer the few that have reached out to me about desiring to have a second or 2 pickups.
Yep, it does solve for some. You know, some people still maybe have a storage issue where they don't have enough space for, you know, 2 of those big 90-gallon totes. So it does, you know, you can pick away at a few of those problems each time and try to help resolve it, but there's always 1 or 2 that are still fall into an exception sometimes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Commissioner Emery. Commissioner Gorman.
Comment and a question. Wanted to make sure it was known. Residents are really appreciating the extended yard waste pickup that was offered this year. My own home needed that. So it's just nice. You know, life gets busy. Sometimes leaves don't fall as fast as they do. So if they could know that we're very appreciative of that. I wanted to ask if Republic Services, or if there just is a service for actual garbage bin, like cleaning when those need to be washed.
I'm not aware of one, no.
Okay. Well, it's something I think we should talk about. So, like, just the state of bins sometimes just need a little TLC. So, I know there's new services where, like, trucks come to your homes and clean them while they're there. So, just something.
You know, if they do, they can be replaced. You know, I think we charge $55, I want to say, is what the cost to just get a new bin. You know, when it gets beyond the point of salvaging and cleaning, there is that option available too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gorman. Vice Mayor German, any questions or comments on this item?
More of a comment. I wasn't going to say anything, but I just appreciate the service and the commitment Director Evans has provided to the city of Muskegon. Anytime that I've had a question, a call, or concerns, or a constituent, you were right there, and also the constituents are appreciative as well. So I'd just like to express my sentiments and wish you the best on your new adventures.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Jeremy.
Thank you.
I've heard, some of the same questions or concerns as Commissioner Emery with regard to recycling and wanting to expand the frequency of recycling or improve recycling services. I've also heard constituents like Commissioner Gorman with regard to leaf pickup. And so what I'm wondering is, as we move forward with this contract, since our current contract is expiring at the end of this month, so we need to do something to continue services. We don't want a disruption of services. However, given that this is such an important service, one that touches literally every resident in our city, I do think it would merit or warrant some further engagement or solicitation of feedback from our residents about how the service is functioning and how they might want to see improvements or changes that we could then take into consideration for, as you mentioned, a potential future amendment within this 5.5-year period, rather than having to wait till the end of that contract to make any changes. Solicit that feedback, take into consideration, and pursue potential reasonable amendments to the existing contract. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, you're not going to be able to do that
we've
process.
got a new person
but-
that does that here now, so that's the kind of stuff we can work on.
And I see our manager taking notes as well. So, all right. Unless there's anything else, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor German.
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman.
Yes.
Commissioner Emery.
Yes.
Mayor Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hood.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next up, we have the 2023 Fraternal Order of Police contract.
I move to approve the collective bargaining agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council as presented.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Gorman.
With permission of the chair and Ms. Gorman, would add to the end of that motion, which may be corrected by staff
Okay.
for technical and grammatical errors.
Can I just say that? Or okay. Wait. Sorry. What is it?
Yeah.
As presented. As presented, which may be corrected by staff for technical and grammatical errors.
Support.
Thank you, Commissioner Gorman. So we have a motion by Commissioner Gorman, supported by Commissioner Emery, to approve the collective bargaining agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police Labor Council as presented, which may be corrected by staff for technical and grammatical errors. All right. Deputy Manager Mike Zell, welcome.
Thanks. Good to see you all. So I appreciate you making that amendment for us. We have been furiously working with the union to make some last minute changes. Everybody's in agreement. And you'll see even in your packet, you have a red line version. But anyway, we've solidified the remaining language and we're in good shape for moving forward. There's one thing that the union has requested that we review, and that's some language referring to pension benefits that was in a prior contract. So just checking to make sure that all of our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed. And then I guess I want to just make one comment. So Lieutenant Mike Haug is here in the audience, and he doesn't know that I'm going to say anything. But I just wanted to mention that he led the union side of this negotiation, and it was just really a pleasure to work with all of them. We had really good conversations, and everybody talked very reasonably, and it was really nice to be working with people that obviously care about our city and wanted to do what's best for the city and for our employees. So I just want to make that mention.
Thank you.
Sure.
And thank you, Lieutenant. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments? Yes, Vice Mayor German.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Johnson. For Deputy Manager Mike Sell, you mentioned pension. What is the max of years officer could work here at the City of Muskegon and receive full pension? How much time do they have to put in?
The maximum or the minimum?
Minimum?
It depends on what contract you're in. So I don't, and when you were hired. So I don't think maybe our attorney can tell us.
Councilor Schreier.
For this unit, it is a age 50 with 25 years of service, or age 55 with 10 years.
Okay.
Is when they can then draw
their pension.
Okay.
Okay. Competitive wages. We know that other municipalities, like I'm gonna just use Grand Rapids, are we seeing competitive wages in this contract for our officers?
Our command officers got a pretty substantial increase in this contract. What we did is we looked at the wage scale from the POLC contract, so our patrol officers, and looked at also the wages that are set for our public safety director, and tried to make sure that the sergeants, lieutenants, and captains were pretty evenly distributed amongst that pay gap. That was a part of the negotiation that we didn't instantly agree on, but went really well. Everybody understood the reasons that we were doing the things that we were doing, and everybody was comfortable with where we ended. But it's a significant increase from their previous contract.
Great. Okay, and seniority rights for opportunities for advancement. Where are you at on that, or what type of negotiations was talking about or negotiating? Were there any seniority rights negotiated in the contract?
I don't remember having conversations about making any changes to how seniority affects anything in the contract.
Okay.
Am I wrong, Mike? Okay.
Okay.
It's been a minute. I mean, we've done some last minute stuff, but most of it was done in August, so.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Vice Mayor German.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments, commissioners? No? All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Manager. All right, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor German,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman,
Yes.
Commissioner Emery,
Yes.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hood.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right. We don't have any public hearings. I misspoke when I referenced the Housing Board of Appeals demolition as being a public hearing, but we will hear from the representative for that property during that item. But no public hearings, no unfinished business. Now on to new business, and that is Housing Board of Appeals demolition for 808 Oak Avenue. So that we may proceed, can we get a motion? Commissioner Hood.
Okay.
Or
I move to. This is for the Housing Board of Appeal demolition.
yeah.
Okay.
You know what we can do is typically we actually do have here from the representative and from the staff report before we do the motion on this item. It's a little different than all the other items we do. So we're going to go that route. So if you just hold off for a moment, Commissioner Hood. If we can hear from Safe Built on this item first.
Not a problem.
Good evening.
Welcome.
808 Oak, as you can see in the packet provided to you, is quite a concern to the city in terms of the blight there along the Getty corridor. This property is made up of quite a few buildings, including a single-family house, 2 large pole barns, what appears to be a residential garage, a commercial garage. I believe that there is like a former storefront at the front of the property, as well as a few remnants of a greenhouse down kind of in the valley. And another, what I would imagine was a seed barn at one time there. I believe it used to be an old celery plant or farm, or those sort of things is what I've been told. We have issued some notices on this property. We have had really no luck in making progress, any meaningful progress on it in terms of permits. In September 2022, this case was presented to the Housing Board of Appeals, who declared it for demolition. The owner, who I believe is here tonight, and his realtor have recently listed the property for sale. I believe after that HBA meeting in September, they listed the property for sale. My understanding is that they're looking to sell the property, but I don't know of any abatement plan at this point for rectifying the ongoing issues and blight in that area.
Thank you.
Yep.
Does Chief Kozel have anything to add at this time? Nope. All right. Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff on this item before we hear from the property owner and representative?
Just one question.
Yes, Vice Mayor German.
Thank you. How long has this property been vacant?
How long has it been vacant?
Yes.
Ooh, that's a good question. Many years as far as I know. In terms of the house, I believe, let me look down here. We started proceedings on property maintenance violations back in 2016, and as far as I know, it was vacant at that time. The rest of the celery factory, I'm not exactly sure, or celery farm rather, I'm not exactly sure when that became vacant, but it's been quite a while.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor German. All right, we're going to invite up the property owner and the representative. Oh, if you give your name and which organization or who you're representing and what organization. Yes.
Bobby Sisk of Sisk Properties.
All right.
Hi, Jake Kilgo, Associate Broker with Pinnacle Realty West. I am the listing agent for Mr. Sisk on this property. I'm also a Muskegon resident. I live in the Steel neighborhood. The property in question, 808 Oak Avenue. My client did purchase the property about 1.5 years ago. Due to personal reasons, he hadn't started his, he's a builder here in the area, renovates properties. And due to personal reasons, he hadn't started his renovations on this property. Currently, he's just looking to liquidate the property and move on to other projects that he's working on. We do have the property under contract. The property is set to close in less than 30 days from now. So I would ask the commission if we could table the demolition. The new owner the new owner of the property owns Harside Food Solutions, and they do have renovation plans for all 6 buildings on the property to bring it back to what it was formerly. So currently, we're just asking that we table this until the new owner completes the purchase of the property, because then they have a builder that they're going in with renovation plans to remedy the current blight that it is presenting to the city.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kilgo and Mr. Sisk. Commissioners, any questions? No? Vice Mayor German.
Yes. Mr. J, you said it's actually a contract that's set in negotiation for the sale of the property.
Correct. And I have this, I can share it with the commissioners or vice mayor. It is currently under contract to sell.
And that's going to be about 30 days?
Less than 30 days now.
Less
Yep.
than 30 days.
We went under contract on November 27th. So our contract says to close within less than 30 days. So our plan is to close right before or after Christmas because the holidays, and recognize holidays because the holiday is on a weekend this year. So we're set to close by the 27th of December.
Any follow-up, Vice Mayor German?
More of a comment on, and I'm looking at what the recommendation was. And if the intent and the property is under contract, as you say, for sale, and this is just my opinion, I don't know how the rest of the commission feels, I don't see a problem probably tabling this. If the commission wanted to go that direction, I think it's a fair opportunity for the seller to get rid of the property, liquidate it, and then let the new builder possibly develop that property. And then we can just go forward with that. And that's just my point of view. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
I actually bought it with good intentions. I actually pulled a permit to gut it out. I bought it for $18,000. I had 46 40-yard dumpsters out there and cleaned up all the back then, and then all of a sudden went through a divorce. And I've done several houses in this community, and I can list them that were in worse condition than this house is, that had custom cabinets, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, that I brought back to life. I mean, I was featured on WZZM 13 about doing this stuff. The whole blight thing, I was a part of that. I bought several through the land bank, and this is another one I bought through the land bank that I had every intention to bring back to life, and then all of a sudden I went through a divorce where I couldn't do anything to the properties I had. So, and now I'm forced to sell the houses that I do have.
Okay.
Through a divorce. So.
Thank you, Mr. Sist.
Yes.
I don't know if this is a question for Mr. Zenobia with Safefield, or this is a question for Counselor or our city manager. But what would that process look like if the commission were to decide to postpone consideration of concurrence or non-concurrence with the Housing Board of Appeals for, let's say, 30 days? There is a change of ownership, and there's new owners, and this comes back to us. How does that interplay with the process that has been pursued thus far?
So my understanding is I don't believe that the commission has the ability to table this item. I believe they would have to refer it back down to the Housing Board of Appeals. That would cause it to be delayed to at least February, just with mailing dates and notices of that sort. During that time, we would hopefully get the mailing information, but again, that would have to be updated through the assessor's office. We'd have to have those different items, but I believe then the HBA would then revisit the case, either move it for demolition or table it further. But I believe that the city commission, and I may be wrong, I don't believe that the city commission can table it as far as I know.
I would be interested to, just for our advocation, if we do have the opportunity to table it, I would also then add, regardless of whether they have the opportunity to table, that I think would be more sensible to refer it back to the Housing Board of Appeals so that they would have an opportunity to consider the new owner and their remediation plans, and then decide if they want to make a recommendation to us to demolish it then.
One other point would be a notice resolution was filed on the property. I don't know if they've met the terms of that resolution with the assessor's office to actually complete the legal sale. That would obviously be a requirement in order to transfer ownership. I do have that document here with me. So if they have not done that, the sale certainly couldn't go forward. At least the legal sale would not be able to go forward per this notice of resolution. So that would certainly affect the contract, which on the 27th I think may be difficult to, if they haven't already met the terms, meet the terms of this and keep that 27th as the closing date, which could cause a problem with the contract. But again, just a consideration there.
Counselor?
Well, the short answer is if you table it, you get no more information than what you have today. The new owner doesn't get to make his case that I can fix this out. It sounds like if that's what you want, to see if the new owner will in fact do those things, the more appropriate is to refer back to the HBA.
Okay. You were about to make the motion earlier. Would you like to make a motion now?
Let me see what this motion is. Okay. Yeah, I'll make a motion. Okay, so I move to concur with the Housing Board of Appeals decision to demolish and authorize administration to obtain bids for the demolition, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized and directed to execute a contract for demolition with the lowest responsible bidder.
Support.
Is that proper?
So I just want to get clarification, because I had the impression, at least from Vice Mayor German, and I thought maybe a sense from you, that there was interest in referring it back to the Housing Board of Appeals.
So I made the wrong
Okay.
motion then.
Yes. Rescind your motion. So,
Send your
It's part of it at once.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes, I rescind.
All right. It wasn't supported by. Oh no, it was actually. You rescind.
I rescind
your
my
support. All right. May I have a motion to refer
back to the
Housing Board of Appeals?
Okay. I move to refer this back to the Housing Board of Appeals.
Support.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Hood, supported by Vice Mayor German. Any discussion, questions, comments? Nope. All right. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Commissioner Emery?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Vice Mayor German?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I thought that was wrong. Okay, why don't we leave this one?
All right, next up, we have Adelaide Point reimbursement agreement. Commissioners, may I have a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve the development reimbursement agreement for Adelaide Point.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Gorman, supported by Commissioner Hood, to approve the development reimbursement agreement for Adelaide Point. Deputy Manager Mike Sill, welcome back.
Thank you. So we're in front of you again. And I just wanted to kind of summarize the process here. So as you recall, several months ago, you approved the cooperative use agreement. So that had to do with the public and private partnership on the property and who has access at what time and for how long. And then this, you'll know, is an amendment to the Brownfield agreement. So this is kind of like the basic outline of our agreement between the city and Adelaide Point for how we're going to move forward with the Brownfield on this project. And there isn't a lot of really specific language in this agreement because our intent is that since the project is so large, it's going to be constructed over a number of phases. And so each phase will come to you separately with an addendum to this agreement. And each phase will go through the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for approval before it comes to you. So each phase will outline what specifically will be built in that phase and how the Brownfield capture is going to work for who's going to get paid at what time and how much money is going to be spent, bonded for by the city and those kinds of things. So all those details will come in those different addenda for each phase. Does that make sense, or do you have questions for that part?
Commissioners? Nope.
Okay. So what you've got in front of you is the this first amendment, and this is the outline. The Brownfield Redevelopment Authority approved it this morning. We do have a couple of people here that are representing the development. If you want to hear from them, I'm sure they might like the opportunity to talk to you about what's happening. Or not. I mean, it's fine if they don't want to. I suppose if you have some very specific questions about the development, then I might need them to come up and answer.
Commissioners, would you like to hear from the developer? All right.
I would like to hear from them.
I was going to say, I'd be interested in the outlook. Who would like to speak on this? All right. Mrs. Emily Leesma, welcome.
Hi, I'm Emily Leesma. I am the developer. Kirk is going to speak on the specifics of the Brownfield amendments because he does this more than I do.
I do. Yes, so my name is Kirk Perschbach. I work for Fishback. Like Leanne mentioned, at the Brownfield Authority meeting this morning, vision to the Brownfield plan. And the biggest change to it is the original plan approved in 2021 was only for local capture due to the timing to get approved. This revised version adds in state school tax capture to reimburse the city and also developer. That's the biggest change that went on so far. Like Leanne mentioned, there's a lot of details that have to be worked out, and each phase of the project will have an addendum to the Brownfield plan and the like Leanne mentioned, this is the base for it, and then probably in a couple of months there'll be the first addendum once the details get finalized.
As the developer, we're committed to keeping you apprised on obviously every single thing that we do through the Brownfield, which is why all these amendments will take place. It is a large project, so making sure that you all, as commissioners, understand each portion of this is really important. So,
Thank you. We appreciate that. So what is, we approved this tonight, and we realize there'll be phases coming forward for amendments. What's your outlook with regard to the development getting underway and construction? Do you have a rough approximation of timeline that you can share with us right now?
yes, we're happy to say that we have some
really positive moves forward with Eagle. And that was our biggest hurdle, was getting our permit for our marina. And so while we don't have a permit in hand yet, we are very positive that we will have that very, very soon. And we'll make sure that we make that announcement when we do. So as of right now, we plan on, obviously, once we get that permit in hand for Eagle, we will be breaking ground on the marina. And then as far as the multi-use building goes and the first condo building, we anticipate breaking ground on that in March of 2023.
Excellent.
And I can say that we've been working with MEDC for the state capture. We already have an approved letter of intent or letter of interest, and the first revision to the work plan was submitted, will be resubmitted tomorrow, and for hopes to be on the agenda for the February MSF board meeting, which we technically approved. So things are moving forward on the state side.
Thank you much. This has been several years in the making, and so I appreciate your persistence and diligence. Commissioners, any questions?
I guess I have a question for clarification. So, will each addendum go to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority before this commission? Okay, great.
Yes, no, I bet. What was this? It's reimbursed. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, but just when it is cleared. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Gorman. Any other questions, commissioners? All right, excellent. Thank you. Deputy Manager Mike Zell. Could you just explain, so it was mentioned that there was going to be a change in terms of being local only capture and now also doing additional capture, which inclusive of the schools, but could you explain how that actually impacts, if at all, our local school district and what the implications are for that?
I'll do my best. So the schools are held harmless. Oh, yeah, Kirk probably can speak to this much better than I can because he does this all the time. But essentially, the schools are held harmless. There are a couple of things happening here. So remember how brownfields work is they capture on the increment. So right now, the schools are getting a certain amount of property tax based on the value of the property. So the brownfield captures on the increment. So once Adelaide Point starts building things, then the property taxes will increase because there's more value, and so we capture that increment. So the schools are already not getting that, so they're also not going to get that during the brownfield capture. So, but then there's a school aid fund that that makes sure that the schools receive the funding that they would normally receive.
So they would still participate, and you're welcome to come back up and add anything you'd like. But the schools would have an opportunity to participate in the gain as well, as is growing, because while the incremental growth is being captured and used for reimbursement, there's that state school aid fund that is going to be separately reimbursing or paying out to the school district.
Yeah, so the MSF, Michigan Strategic Fund, they're the stewards of the school tax capture, and that's why we have to go in front of them. Really, you need to think of it as the schools are basically, they're delaying the increase, but yeah, there is the aid fund. I don't know exactly the mechanism for it, but they are made whole with that. So the schools aren't losing funds by a brownfield, it's just foregoing the increased capture. And like Leanne mentioned, if the project never happened, they would never see the gain, so it's the delay of that, and that allows for an extensive amount of environmental development team, and then also the city.
All right, thank you. Anything to add?
No, I just wanted to make sure it was clear we weren't taking money from the schools.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Right. Excellent. Thank you. Nope. Unless commissioners, do you have anything else?
Thanks.
Right, thank you. All right, commissioners, unless there's anything else, we'll go to roll call.
We haven't had a motion yet.
Yeah.
Oh, did you? Oh, I don't.
Commissioner Emery?
Yes.
Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hood?
Yes.
Vice Mayor German?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right, commissioners. Well, we know we have one item of any other business. before we get to that item, are there any other items of any other business that you wish to address right now? Vice Mayor German?
Yes, this question. Whatever happened to the decision with the property that was brought in front of the circuit court involving the city and the Mark Darky? Can we get an update on that, or has that been?
There's been no ruling.
It has been no ruling on that. Okay. All right. Okay.
You want to add anything else to that right now? Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
You said no rule.
Correct.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, Chief Kozel. So Commissioner Emery had inquired last night about parking situation at Grand Trunk, and so if you could update us on that situation and the.
Well, what we found out and what we're going to do is, since Leo's leaving, is we're just going to waive everything on his behalf. Isn't that what we want to do, Leo? Anyhow, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to look into this, and I believe there was a small packet that was handed out by the city manager that I forwarded to him that talked about the actual ordinance that governs that. However, as we delved into this a little bit further, there's actually 3 separate areas that talk about parking in these areas and permitted parking and such. One of those, and you see it on one of the pictures there, I think it's in the last picture, it cites for parking 2 different ordinances for launch ramp parking, 9274, which you have a copy of, and then 58.3. And 58.3, we just couldn't see within that in the discussions and meeting with Mr. Schreier where it talks about having the actual permit to be able to park in those areas. I did, however, after my meeting with Mr. Schreier, we were able to locate where it talks about under parking restrictions, which is 9271 LO 15, and I'll just quote it, where a daily or seasonal pass is required as indicated in posted signs or notices for a motor vehicle to park, no motor vehicle shall park in such location without the daily pass. Long story short, we have 3 separate areas that are talking about one thing. My recommendation, and I'll let Mr. Schreier chime in, is that there needs to be further conversation and maybe about this, if this wants to continue on, and shoring it up so it's a one easy area for someone to be able to read and to digest.
Yeah, I like simplicity. Commissioner Emery?
No.
Do you have any
just thank you.
questions or?
I can't wait to get home to read all of these.
We have paused it for right now, so we are
Okay.
not enforcing it.
Wonderful.
But it is something I believe that we should have further discussion about to be able to refine it and make it easier to read all in one area for our boat launch / marina.
Thank you.
It's my recommendation.
All right. Well, I appreciate the temporary suspension of enforcement on this for the time being, and then you and management and legal counsel will be revisiting this internally in terms of how to simplify, and then bringing something back to the commission at a future time for if we need to take any formal action. Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Chief Kozel. Thank you, Commissioner Emery. All right, one more opportunity for any other business. No? All right, we're going to go on to public comment. We got one slip. Is there still time to give public comment if anyone wishes to do so? And we will go on to Ann Vandermolen joining us from Roseville Park. Welcome. You have up to 3 minutes to provide remarks.
All right, I'm going to speak on abuse of power. Pat Benatar's song, Hell is for Children, isn't about Pat Benatar wanting kids to go to hell. It's about how some kids go through hell while they're on earth. That's my true fight, to fight all forms of child abuse. Some of the lyrics in Pat Benatar's song go, and I quote, "It's all so confusing, this brutal abusing. They blacken your eyes and then apologize. Be daddy's good girl and don't tell mommy a thing. Be a good little boy and you'll get a new toy. Tell grandma you fell from the swing." Unquote. Too many kids go through this every day. They're told to hide in the shadows, keep quiet about what they went through. My main goal is to fight for children. But I have to say that some adults have to hide in the shadows too. They're told not to say anything either. That's wrong too. The reason I started coming here and speaking last spring was because the man I've been speaking about used DJ Hilson's name in a text on March 10th, and I got mad because I thought he was trying to use his power over me again. I thought this man should have paid a fine for hurting my body, and I wanted to complain to the mayor about it. I remember the man I'm talking about wrote me a text 9 years ago that said I should think long and hard about it when I threatened to tell someone. What does that even mean? What was he going to do to me that I had to think long and hard about it? And after he threatened me not to tell anyone, he asked me to meet him in his office. Like I was going to meet him after a threat like that. Of course I didn't go. Instead, I went and wrote that police report on him. I never asked for violence, threats, and humiliation. I started out genuinely liking this man. He had mocked on the singing Christmas tree that year in 2013. I saw him at a Mona Shores music event and walked up to him to tell him off. But as I was telling him off, I started liking him. And then at Thanksgiving, he wrote about everything he was thankful for and didn't mention his wife. So I thought he was a single father. Eventually, we began seeing each other. Like I've said, he got violent with me, and on one occasion, and took my voice away by saying certain things. When I brought up a certain concern, he said that I must be a dirty person in order to have to worry about that. And but since we got back in touch about 2 years ago, because I wanted an apology for everything, he has been nice and respectful to me. Instead of yelling at me for writing that police report, he sent me a picture of a beautiful rainbow in a text from October 12th, 2020. He also has called me a lot and finally apologized when he called me this past September. He even asked to be my friend, but I yelled at him, and because I was so angry about everything he did. Maybe he didn't mean to intimidate me by using DJ's name in that text last March, but it took me right back to 2014 when he did try to intimidate me. No one should ever threaten their power over anyone. But I'm done being angry at him. I don't want to talk about him, but people around this county are being threatened with power. Many women have talked to me about things that have gone on in this county. And no one should say that they are the most powerful man in Muskegon. Nobody should threaten that to anybody around this county. And many women have talked to me. Many women have messaged me terrible stories about sexual assault that have gone on by other men in this county. And it's wrong. Men have to learn that they cannot, and I believe it's still happening. So it's got to stop. Thank you, Mayor, for letting me air this out and have closure with it. And you're wonderful to do that, and the rest of the commission as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Van Molden. Appreciate you joining us tonight and sharing your story and speaking your truth, and I wish you peace. May you find
Thank you. I think I'll get closure now. Thanks.
Take care. Last call for public comment from the audience. All right. Before we adjourn, or entertain a motion for adjournment, just want to thank my fellow commissioners and all of our staff and all of our team leadership for the excellent work that has been undertaken this year as we are wrapping up 2022. And I very much look forward to working with each and every one of you in the new year for the continued betterment of our city for our citizens. And so I do wish each and every one of you happiest of holidays and a wonderful new year. With that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Emery, supported by Vice Mayor German. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Hey.
Take care.